piece of practice advice I could give a student would be knowing like when you have the piece down. I have a lot of students who practice it until they get it right and they're like, great, I got it right, I can move on. But I always say that when you get it right the first time, that's a good sign, but don't stop. You want to keep practicing once you've got it right, like keep going many times after that, until it's consistent and repeatable. Like you get it right over and over and over again. And once you can do that, then you know you can move on.
Most important piece of practice advice I would give a student is to set a timer. I think that life gets really busy and it can be kind of overwhelming to be like, how much should I practice? Or I haven't practiced enough. And when you set a timer for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, it really carves out that space of time that's just for you. Usually it goes by quicker than you think. And then when you're done, you have a sense of accomplishment. So I'm a big fan of the timer.
My most effective practice advice would be to try not to start from the beginning every time you're practicing, or also every time you make a mistake. I think we're programmed sometimes to, when we make a mistake, to always go back to the beginning. But I feel that really it's most effective to just pick a random spot in your piece and just try and start from there. It just really helps with your reading, and it really helps with your consistently keeping going in the piece instead of stopping all the time.
I would say my most important piece of practice advice for students is to always, when learning a new piece, look up at the music as you practice. This develops two skills, which I think are really important. One is it allows you to feel your way around the piano without looking. So you develop, a feel for the piano without the need to always use your eyes. And then number two is it prevents memorizing the piece too soon. Sometimes if we memorize too early, it can cause us to memorize it incorrectly, and then it's really hard to unlearn, um, those mistakes later on.
All right. So the most important piece of practice advice I would give a student is to schedule it into your busy life, because the hardest part I find with practicing is just setting aside the time to do it. Try to find those times within your life that you know that you can practice and devote to playing the piano. And over time, it's much better to keep that consistent, even if it's a shorter amount of time, than to miss weeks here and there just because things get too busy.
The most important piece of practice advice that I could give a student is, rather than practicing straight through a piece, break your piece into small short sections and practice a very short section at a time with lots and lots of repetition. This could be as short as 4 measures, sometimes even shorter if the piece is particularly hard. Do it lots of times, focusing on one skill at a time, and then move on to the next very short section.